A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20, soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive?
The world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure? Murder. From the twisted mind of Shawn C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadow Play in Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.
Hi, welcome back to A Most Horrible Library, the podcast where we talk about all things literary horror, from graphic novels to regular novels and everything in between. I'm Chris Saunders.
And I'm Shawn Charles Baker.
And we're going to talk about some spooky, bloody books today.
The best kind.
Yeah, what have you been reading, Shawn?
Oh, let me do this one. So I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and I kept starting to read it, and then I just kept getting interrupted. So Eibon Press, Bottomfeeder. So this was, here's the origin. This is a graphic novel. This was it's by Stephen Romano and Pat Carvajal. I'm probably saying that wrong. Based on a story by Shawn Lewis and Joseph Melendez Jr. So the impetus for this was they wrote a screenplay for this Bottomfeeder and got Joe Pilato, who is best known as the super aggressive army captain, I forget his name, in Day of the Dead, right? So in Day of the Dead, you've got the bunker, and you've got the military guys are under Joe Pilato's jurisdiction, and the scientists are under whoever, and they Pilato does not take kindly to the scientists basically wasting their time. So he's been in a bunch of other stuff. That's his most iconic role. That's what I always think of. So they had reached out to him with this screenplay, and he was going to play this just filthy, dirty detective in I want to say it's San Lucifer. So it's Southern California, or like maybe Middle Coast. Town is called San Lucifer. Pilato is the detective. And oh man, so anyway, they were gonna make a screenplay about it, and then Joe Pilato died, and so he had given them his blessing to carry on with it in a comic form. So they made it. So it stars him. Dude, it's so fucking awesome. It is unbelievable. Like,
yeah, I'm looking at it now, and they really did a good job at capturing his likeness.
Dude,
and,
it's crazy.
It's a big book too.
It is.
But 172 pages.
And I read it in a day. I got my second shot last week, and just like afterwards read it, and oh my god!
It's all black and white with a gray wash.
Yes, so they call it the full black version. It was originally color, and it looks good color.
Okay,
full black.
So this has been released before then.
Yes, and so it was apparently when they were going to do the movie, Pilato suggested they do black and white.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I'm looking at it right now, and it's it has that noir vibe to it, and then it looks like it just kind of shifts to to like The Thing.
Oh, it's crazy, man. So it's the basic setup is it starts with a guy dumping toxic waste barrels, in a lake.
Like you
And
do.
yeah, like you do. And Pilato's character rolls up on him, and basically he's like, look, you're new. Your boss didn't tell you. Every time you guys do this, I get $5,000. If you don't have $5,000, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And the guy like hems and haws or whatever, and he's like, if I go in your truck right now and find money, I'm gonna kill you. And then the guy tries to kill him, and so he shoots him, and so dumps the body and the toxic waste into the fucking lake and drives off.
Nice.
And of course, the toxic waste that's been being dumped in there has been changing the contents of the lake into something monstrous. And
naturally,
and it just kind of comes to a head with this murder. And you go into this fucking detective's world, and it is dark as fuck. Like he immediately, like the next page, he's like, whenever I kill somebody, I gotta fuck something. That's just my rule of thumb. So he like goes to pick up a hooker. He's like shooting up, and I mean, it's like almost so over the top that it almost is ridiculous, but they pull it back just enough. And man,
so it's a bit like Marv from Sin City mixed with Harvey Keitel from Bad Lieutenant.
Bad Lieutenant, yeah. There's a definite Bad Lieutenant. There's no way if you've seen Bad Lieutenant, you can read this and not think of Harvey Keitel's Bad Lieutenant. But yeah, it's really, really good. And all of their stuff is, we talked about this on the Horror Vision a while back, and I just emailed Shawn Lewis again because I do want to get him on eventually to talk about his company, but scheduling conflicts constantly between the two of us. But there's stuff I feel like it's so for the love of horror, and I just feel like there's so many people out there not reading it that should be reading it. So
yeah,
I want to pimp it every chance I get. I fucking love their Fulci books, but I love this even more. An original idea.
That is high praise, because I know how much you like those books.
Yeah, it's really ones. Good. Really, really good. So
wow. Yeah, I mean, and this is also that company, I know we've talked about them a few times on here, where you really get your money's worth out of it.
Yes.
They're just very gorgeous, well-made books. And what's great about them too is that they're limited. They do these limited runs, and they don't have any stores that they sell, that they distribute to. It's all straight from them.
I believe so, yeah. Unless there's something, they're based out of Austin, so unless there's something there, but I'm pretty sure there's not. I think it's just basically, you go online, order from their online comic shop, basically, and yeah, they're really cool. So they've got a new thing coming out, Wasteland. I forget the name. I got to look into it. I got an email the other day, and that one I'm not familiar with, but yeah, it definitely. I think people will really dig this. It's got that sleaze of like the 80s, like crime and horror, like mixed in with just like absolute creature feature madness. Like there is some fucking crazy shit in it. So it's great. What about you, man?
Let's see. The one that I've really been into lately is from Aftershock, and it is Maniac of New York.
Tell me about this one. Like, I'm not reading it, and I need to be, I think.
Yeah, I really, really dig it. I mean, I caught the I caught the corner of my eye the cover of the first issue, and it very much looks like an old 80s slasher movie VHS cover, Maniac written in bright red, very splattery type writing, and then of New York, and you see a hand holding like a machete with a reflection of a girl's face screaming in it, with some blood splat. It's very reminiscent of, probably like the marketing from Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. So right away I had that kind of vibe to it. But so the basic premise is, and I'm just going to kind of read the summary here. 4 years ago, a masked slasher began stalking the streets of New York City. Maniac Harry is inhuman, unkillable, and unstoppable, which is why the authorities' solution has been to ignore him and let New Yorkers let New Yorkers adapt to a world where death can strike at any moment. When Maniac Harry starts killing his way through the subway system, trauma-haunted political aide Gina Green and disgraced NYPD detective Zelda Pettibone become determined to go rogue and destroy him. But how can they fight a monster when they can't fight City Hall? And this was written by Elliot Kalan, but he was a writer for The Daily Show, for Mystery Science Theater. He's written for Spider-Man and X-Men.
Wow.
And the art, it's really good art. Like I really dig the very kind of
It's very unique, right?
yeah, it's very almost kind of like watercolory.
Yes,
The way
yeah.
that it's done. And it's done by Andrea, I'm gonna butcher this, Moody,
Okay.
Mutti, Moody. And she's done work on Zach Kaplan's Port of Earth, and she's done some stuff for Hellblazer as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a great story, basically, just kind of what happens when, terror and becomes the new normal.
Which is,
You
I
know?
mean, it's
So
it's so right on the money with the real world, right?
yeah, I mean, there's 4 issues of it that are out right now. The 4th issue just came out today
Mhm.
at the time of us recording this. So I've only read the first 3 so far, but it's great. It's just these New Yorkers, yeah, it shows them on a subway just going about their day, just like fuck this, fuck that, kind of mentality. This, the doors open and here comes this masked Jason looking guy, and they're like, oh shit, and they just scramble and panic, and they never know when this guy is going to pop up, because there'll be stretches of weeks and months where nobody sees him, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's there at Times Square on New Year's Eve hacking away at people. And I think at one point they even say that like over the past 4 years he's killed something like 700 New Yorkers.
Holy shit.
And they've tried shooting him, they've tried doing all kinds of things, and just like Jason, nothing stops this guy.
Wow.
Yeah, anytime cops go up against him, he kills them. And it's
What year does this take place in? It's in the past, isn't it, or no?
no,
Oh, for some reason I
I
thought it was in
don't
the.
believe so.
Okay.
I think it does. I mean, I didn't get that vibe.
I thought it took place in the 20s or something for some
Oh
reason.
no.
Okay.
I'm doing a quick scroll through. Okay, no, it takes place present day, because
Okay.
one of the first panels that you see in the first issue is Times Square, Happy New Year 2016.
Okay.
So now it's 4 years later.
Okay. Boom.
And
Wow.
yeah, it's it's a really fun read, and it's a really interesting take on the slasher type, you know, thing, vibe, story. I don't know what you want to call it.
That sounds awesome. It's like, I mean, it's so odd that there's been so many iterations of slashers, and you'd think everything would have been done, but it's just not
Yeah.
the case. It's
Well,
just
I mean,
crazy.
that's kind of the beauty of things right now, is that we're seeing this generation who has grown up on slasher films,
Yes.
so they have their own interesting way to do twists and takes on things. In the late 70s, early 80s, when slasher films were kind of at their peak, they were being made by people then and there on the spot, figuring it out as they go. And a lot of times they weren't being very creative and would just start to copy one another, and it
Yeah,
just
definitely.
and it became really played out and predictable. So now it's nice that there's been a big enough gap in there to breathe, that a new generation is being able to come through and add a lot more to it.
Yeah, definitely. It gives it that, like, it's become self-aware, but even that, like, I guess even that, like, you know, it's gone through a phase already of being self-aware, and but also
Yeah,
though,
once you got into like Scream and films like that, I
yeah,
feel that's really when they started becoming meta.
what was the
Leslie Vernon, is
no,
that what
there's
you're gonna
that.
get into?
No, but that's interesting because there it will hopefully eventually be that, like, I forget if it's a sequel or a prequel that will be in
Oh,
a graphic
I
novel.
hope so. Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, no, not that one. What's the one with Fran Kranz and Allison Hannigan? Did you see that one?
Fran Kranz from Dollhouse and Cabin in the Woods,
Yeah, where it's
and
like,
Allison Hannigan. No.
okay, I can't think of I think it's called like You Might Be the Killer or something like that, where it's like he's at a summer camp and she's working at a video store and they're friends, and he's calling her and he's like, oh my God, this guy's killed all these people and now he's after me or whatever. And she's like, as he keeps having to like call her back, or like he's running around like trying to hide as this guy's stalking him and then killing other people in front of him. And then there's like a twist involved. It's very meta, self-aware. And I remember thinking like, I didn't love it as much as I thought I would based on the cast.
2018, yeah, You Might Be the Killer.
But point being, as far as the discussion on slashers, it was one where I would have thought for sure there was no more juice left in that kind of meta narrative for a slasher, and they found a little kind of way to make it unique. But maybe one of the things too with Maniac of New York is move the tropes to a different format. So instead of having a film, you've got a comic, or like I talked about Night of the Mannequins, which is kind of a derivation of a slasher flick. I talked about that in one of the last episodes. So it's like, I don't know. I would love to see. I'd love to read like a slasher novel. I know there's some out there. I'll have to find one.
Oh yeah, there has to be some.
There is. There's one in particular I've seen on Amazon all the time. I need to find it.
I bet you money if you go into your library area there and go up on your bookshelf and pull out that great book by what is it, Gendy Hendricks, Paperbacks from Hell. Grady Hendrix, yeah, Paperbacks from Hell. I bet you there is a copious volume of slasher type books that are listed in there.
Yeah, there'd be a section for it. So yeah, good call. It's time to. I read that, but I need to. I pull it out periodically and look at it. If any listeners out there have not read Grady Hendrix's Paperbacks from Hell, please
do it.
It's not the kind of book normally. It's like a kind of a coffee table book when you wouldn't really think that like, I might leaf through it. I don't know if I'll read it. Like I couldn't put it down. It was his.
Tell them a bit. Tell our listeners a bit about what it is exactly, because it's not a novel.
It is not a novel. Yeah. So let me see. I got to look this up. He's got a co-author, because the co-author, I got to find his name, but he has run a blog about these books for years, and Hendrix is his friend, or has become his friend. There
Grady
we go.
Hendrix and
Will Erickson. So Will Erickson has a blog. Okay. So Grady Hendrix and Will Erickson did this book. Hendrix wrote it, but I believe he wrote the entirety of the text. It's not fiction. It is basically
but researched by
Will Erickson, who has a blog called Too Much Horror Fiction, which is a fucking awesome. But so starting with what they chronicle is starting with The Exorcist, where that proved to be a extremely popular and profitable novel when it came out.
Yeah.
So that kicked off a whole new like wave of, because horror wasn't really something that was published at the time. And he goes into that, it like kind of was before you had your like gothics with like the, I don't know, the Bronte sisters and blah, blah, blah. But horror itself was not really represented in fiction. And so The Exorcist comes out, is huge. And then you start getting obviously Exorcist knockoff novels, and then the movie comes out and same, but horror proves profitable. So now you've got a whole new generation of fans. And so they go through these different eras, and they break it down. And so younger listeners may not realize, like you will remember, I'm sure the way I do, like when I was a kid, I would go into like a Walden Books. This is before Borders, and I think if Barnes and Noble existed, it wasn't a standalone store. It was like in a mall. All the bookstores I feel like were in malls, and I'd go in and you'd see, or at the library, you'd see all these paperback books of like horror stuff, like so much, like voluminous. And because there was these waves of this stuff, and it went through different iterations, and they break it down, Erickson and Hendricks, by like, here's your possession, here's your killer kids, here's your killer toys, here's your killer animals, here's, they go into I forget what they call it, but in the 90s, where it kind of started to get like way more bloodthirsty, and people like David Show, if I'm saying his name right, like the splatter punk kind of stuff. And then it just kind of burned the fuck out, was gone. But it's such an interesting read. And Grady Hendrix I just love the way the guy writes. He's very personable. He's funny as hell. And, and there's stuff in there like they've created a critical reassessment, which is really cool. Because then also, and Chris, I don't know if you know this, I don't know if we've talked about this. Valancourt Books is a publisher that a year or two ago, they started getting the rights to re-release these in most cases with the original artwork for the covers. But I think there were one or two cases where they couldn't for what they've done so far, but they released them they were initially like as sets of like, I forget, it was 4 or 5. And I think they were bigger paperbacks. I don't think they were mass market paperbacks. And you could actually subscribe to it. So there was like a subscription service where you could like, yes, I want the next year of Valancourt's Paperbacks from Hell. Here's my, whatever it was, $80 or $60 or whatever.
Yeah, I was just about to say, because I'm just checking it out on Amazon, that if you look up Paperbacks from Hell, that there are a number of these paperbacks that are being re-released that has the little Paperbacks from Hell logo there in the corner. Yeah, wow, a little pricey for a paperback at like $18 per pop, but I can only imagine these are pretty limited type.
I don't know. I don't know if they're limited. Now, I did, that was why I did not sub for the first wave. When I saw the price, I'm like, if these are mass market paperbacks and they're like $18 a book, that's fucking nuts. And also, like, honestly, some of them it's cool to read about, but there's not, some of them, like, I don't know that I'm actually going to read that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, some of them fall outside my taste. There are some things that, like, man, look really, really cool.
Yeah, and it looks like these are just regular dimension paperbacks.
That's so weird.
At 7 by 4 and a quarter.
I guess I get it. Like, I'm glad they're bringing it back and making money with it. I mean, it's a little bit like, I feel like
that's kind of the only thing I can think of is maybe they're charging so much because they're taking a chunk of that money to license out and get the rights to reprint more as they go along. I would like to think that they're not, being capitalist American pig dogs.
One of the ones I really, really want to read, and I remember reading about it. They haven't put it back out through that. Somebody else has actually republished it, but this was one of the ones in there. There's a few where I'm like, I need to read this eventually, and it's Michael McDowell, the Blackwater Saga. I think it's like 5 books or something, and it's $10 on Kindle for the digital. I'm torn whether I want to try and read it digitally or actually buy the actual books, but it's just,
I know the audio books are also available on Audible.
Oh, really? Well, so this one is one of the ones where it has gotten, I feel like, the biggest critical push, like, reassessment. It's his whole career, and I believe the author passed away, if I'm not mistaken. Saga of a small town in Perdido, Alabama. The stranger who arrives under mysterious circumstances on Easter Sunday, 1919. On the surface, the stranger is gracious and charming, eager to marry into the eldest son of the town's first family, but her beautiful exterior hides a shocking secret. So, I don't know, something about it. It just really, it really called out to me, and I want to read it. Nathan Ballingrud did the forward to the new edition, and I read that, and I saw that was online somewhere or something, I don't know, but the reverence that he holds for this just kind of sealed the deal that I'm like, I gotta read this. So, but it's going to be an undertaking. I mean, it's 734 pages in length, complete the saga. So that's, and right now I'm still doing Golden Compass or his Dark Materials. So
Yes.
and that's it's taken me a while, but so it's gonna happen. So
It's
yeah,
like it's in the list. Yeah.
it's in the exactly in the pile. Yeah, Paperbacks from Hell looks great, man. Everybody should own it. It's a beautiful book. It's great for coffee table.
Absolutely. I mean, the artwork on some of those were just gorgeous.
Oh man, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It defined the era,
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I think about bookstores and libraries when I was a kid in the 80s, and I think of some of those covers. It's like same with VHS,
Yeah,
cassette boxes.
exactly.
Same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we should try and track them down, and which all of those shot up in value the second that book fucking caught on. Like
Yeah.
I came to the book like a year or so after it was published, and I remember like, oh, this looks cool. I'll look it up on like thrift books or something. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, nope.
Because also like they were rare. Like people literally those mass market paperbacks by design, they're designed to be read and thrown away.
Yeah.
So they don't last. The bindings tend to get beaten up, the covers and everything. So it's scarce. It's interesting. I love that stuff like that though still comes up, but it'd be cool to go back, find them all and do like a slashback video, but for paperbacks.
Yeah.
Like a little museum room with all of them. That'd be really cool. But hey, Grady Hendrix and Will Erickson, you've probably got the fucking money. So, just take the idea and run with it, man. So what about you, man? What else are you reading?
The Silver Coin.
Yes,
from Image.
issue 2. So
issue 2 came out. We didn't talk about issue 1 yet.
Well, I think we did, but it's on what we'll refer to as the lost episode, where Chris and I had started recording an episode because Jay Photos had, if you've listened to that interview, if you haven't, go back and listen to it. It's a great interview. It's our most recent episode before this one, but like he was late because he fell asleep on the couch or whatever. So we're like record like almost a full episode. Then he just pops into the Zoom, and we meant to go back and put it back out separately, but we didn't. So anyway, talk about Silver Coin, because we both love it.
Silver Coin is it's a horror anthology series from Image. It's a limited series, but I am hoping that if sales go well, that we will end up seeing some more issues. Essentially, each issue is its own story that all seems to center around the titular silver coin.
Yes.
It's almost like a monkey's paw kind of story, where each one, basically it's like a cursed object.
Yes.
Every issue has a different team behind it as well. The first issue, which was The Ticket, was by Chip Zdarsky and Michael Walsh. That first issue I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
it was about a struggling local small-time rock band in the mid-70s who were getting pushed out left and right by the disco movement at the time. And, kind of long story short, the lead singer, guitar player ends up finding the silver coin, and not having a guitar pick on him, decides to just use this coin as a guitar pick. And, he ends up becoming this fantastic musician, and goes on to find some success. But with success, there is a dark side.
Yes.
And there is definitely a price that has to be paid to the silver coin.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you've read that issue as well, Shawn. What did you think about it?
I loved it. I just, there's something I think we originally talked about when we did this before. I brought it up, and then I'm actually glad the episode, didn't come out, because I felt like I shouldn't have talked about that because it's a spoiler. But like, that guy, the guitar player, is a great character because you don't particularly like him, and so he finds his success. You don't like him, but I feel like I felt bad for his situation, because disco sucks, and these guys are like this, working man's rock band in the 70s, and like, you want, even though the guy's kind of a dick, like, I would rather see him triumph than the disco band.
Yeah,
and
exactly. But for me, being a musician myself, I didn't see him as a dick, because I get it. I can relate. I wouldn't say he was so much a dick, that he was jaded. He was
okay.
Like, he'd been struggling and trying to make it for so long, only to see a more mediocre genre of music become popular and taking over, and just seeing it as like, this isn't fair. This popular music right now is soulless bullshit. And that's, frankly, for me, that's what I look around and I see quite a bit.
Agreed. But I mean, I don't mean necessarily because of the music, but maybe I'm misremembering too. Maybe he wasn't a dick to his bandmates until after the success. I mean, it's that,
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
But yeah, I don't know. I really liked it, and I thought it was clever the way that they used the coin. And then, so now we've got the second issue, and first issue was in the 70s, and this is the 90s. It seems like it's going to be the 80s because it's a summer camp. But the way that it starts, there is a Nirvana and a Sonic Youth poster on the girl's wall, so it's got to be 90s, right?
Yeah, so, it has to be 90s, but there is a nice Lost Boys poster up in there as well. But but she rocks a Nirvana shirt from here to there.
But I really liked it. It was a cool spin on the summer camp slasher. And again, like, I guess maybe, I don't know if it's a medium or what, but like, I felt like they did something slightly different with it. And, also, I don't know if you ever feel like this. I'm always suspicious of things that tell a full story in one issue, because I'm so used to like ongoing continuity. So when somebody does it really fucking well, I'm like, kudos, man. Nice.
Yeah. No, the only thing that I'm wondering, and I really hope that this is what they're going for with this, because if they can pull it off, I'll be very happy. I'm hoping that as the series progresses, things will kind of start to touch back and tie in together all the seemingly unrelated stories.
Very well could.
The very short-lived, well, not even short-lived. So a number of years ago, one of my favorite authors, besides you, Shawn, Joe Hill, was hired to write the pilot and I think 3, maybe 4 subsequent episodes for a reboot of Tales from the Dark Side.
Right.
Ultimately, it didn't get picked up. So he teamed up with Gabriel Rodriguez, his artist from Lock and Key, and they went ahead and just took the unproduced scripts and illustrated them. And that had that same similar kind of vibe to it, where each issue was a different little story, but kind of towards the end of the last issue, you can start to see like, oh wait, this is each one of these issues is a small piece of a bigger picture.
Right.
And that was one of those things where it just really made me say, God damn it, like I want to see where this was going, to go. But alas, I am happy that I got to see what was produced in general.
I need to pick that up. We talked about that way back, I think, on a Drinking with Comics, and I forgot about that Tales from the Dark Side. I need that, because it's one of those shows I thought of it when you were talking about monsters earlier, when you're like, well, this might be through rose tinted, glasses. I
Mhm.
remember Tales of the Dark Side so vividly affecting me as a kid, like freaking me out a little, not like hardcore where I'm like sleeping with the light on, but like,
Mhm.
just certain images and stuff from that show. And the beginning of that show, always like the voiceover and the way like everything goes to that like negative image, like it's just creepy as fuck, man. So
Yeah,
I forgot he had done that reboot. So I am gonna definitely find it. Hardcover's $18 on Amazon. So there you go.
it's a good read too.
It
I think
how could it
it's
not be? I
yeah,
mean, it's
it was,
impossible.
yeah, it was 4 issues.
Oh man. It looks like with Silver Coin,
Mhm.
the 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 constant creator here is Michael Walsh, the artist, and I didn't realize that. And so maybe 2 weeks ago, Jeremy Hawn, who was on this show, who did the Red Mother and 40 Seconds and whatnot, he posted on social media his I don't know if it's hardcover or soft cover, but he's like, oh, it just arrived. I can't wait to read it or something like that. And it was Michael Walsh's Sleep Stories, which
Okay.
is I'm unfamiliar with it, but now there's an ad in the back of the second silver coin for it, and it's an
Yes, there
ongoing,
is.
ongoing series of comics based on the rotting dreams of cartoonist Michael Walsh. So you can read it for free at thesleepstories.com. And then I'm assuming through that website, you can now order like an actual copy. So that's because I love his art. I mean, I'm new
Mhm.
to him. I'm pretty sure we've probably seen him do other stuff and just didn't realize it.
Oh, sure, sure.
But in this Silver Coin has reintroduced him to me, and I love it, dude. In the second issue, the sequence where somebody is wearing somebody else's face, the way that is
Yeah.
fucking drawn is amazing. Oh my god, dude, so good. Yeah, Silver Coin, I love it so much. I can't wait for the next issue.
Yeah, I am just a little bummed that it is just being touted as a limited series.
I mean, I guess you never know. I mean, hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, if it doesn't continue, there'll be something else. I mean, I love this. Number two is Kelly Thompson and Michael Walsh. One was Chip Zdarsky.
Mhm.
The third one is going to be Eric Brishin and Michael Walsh. So, you know, it's possible we could have other iterations of this or something similar, even if this is going to be finite. So either way, so
Yeah.
far it's been top notch in my book. I love it.
Yeah, and I think the fourth issue is going to be Jeff Lemire.
Oh,
How
nice.
do you say
Okay.
it? Yeah. Is it
I
Lemire?
believe
Lemire?
I believe it's Lemire.
Okay, Lemire. Yeah. So it looks like the fourth issue looks like we're going to be going into the future.
Oh yes, that's right. I saw a preview for it, and I started reading it, and I was not like a preview of the art, but like a solicitation. I was like,
Mhm.
no, I won't be surprised.
Yeah, damn, but unfortunately, yeah, they only have four issues down for being solicited right now.
Um, I want to do real quick. It's a
Mhm.
so I don't think it's outside the purview of this. I mean, so okay, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips and Jacob Phillips do, Criminal is like the most famous one, but they've done all these kind of crime stories. I mean, they're top notch.
Yeah.
So what they're doing now is they're in a position where they don't even do like monthlies anymore. They
Mhm.
just put out like it's going to be 2 or 3 times a year. They're going to put out a
Yeah.
hardcover,
Yeah,
and
here's a
these things,
trade. Mhm.
yes, and these things are selling fucking all, and they're really really nice. Like there's an interview with Brubaker on a podcast called The Word Bubble, and he talks about how he even just likes it just as an object, and he talks about, and I mean the hardcover, it's so fucking beautiful. So just came out, Reckless, Friend of the Devil.
Okay.
So they've starting with the previous one, which I'm blanking on the name of, but came out like 3 or 4 months ago, or maybe 6. We got this new character, Ethan Reckless, and he's not a PI, he's not a cop, he's just somebody. He lives in an abandoned movie theater in LA. So he just kind of watches movies. Like when in his downtime, he's always just sitting in the balcony watching movies. and on the screen, and he goes and picks up like 35 millimeters. The first one starts in the 70s, and now this one is in the 80s. So there's time jumps between the stories, which is kind of cool because you kind of catch up with them. But so point being, he basically helps people out. So this one, he gets involved with a woman who works at a library, and then he's watching a movie and she's like, oh my God, that's my sister in the movie. She's been missing for 8 years or something like that.
Oh.
So he's going to help her. And he falls down this fucking rabbit hole into the whole, this is one of my sweet spots with horror. In the 60s, everything was hippy dippy, marijuana, consciousness expansion. And in the 70s, that kind of turned into hard drugs and like dark occult shit. So he falls, you follow this girl, this missing sister, as he's tracking her down. You follow her kind of from the 60s and the free love into this dark fucking place where there's like people making movies with like fucked up rituals going on, like butchering animals and stuff like that. I mean,
you just kind of picture that scene from Faces of Death.
I've never watched Faces of Death, but I know the scene you're talking
You've
about.
Never seen the blood orgy?
I can't do it. Can't do it.
Evidently that's getting a reboot. Yeah.
Casting call. Who wants to pretend to kill themselves on camera?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. But yeah, Reckless. I mean, it's more of a crime or a noir thing.
Yeah.
But it, and they did a series called Fatale, I don't know how many years ago, and that was straight horror. Like it had Lovecraftian elements, blah blah blah. This kind of has some nods to that, but for being more of like a, I don't know what you want to call it. Like if he's not a PI, I think of it as like he's a Mr. Fix-It kind of guy. Like, whatever you call that, gun for hire, I guess.
Yeah.
But, it gets into some dark, horrific shit. So it was really cool. And again, I love that spot in the 70s. And then into the 80s, the Satanic Panic as a result of that dark, hippie mirror image that happened. So it's cool. It was a very good read.
Nice. I'll have to check that one out for sure.
It's good. What else you got? All right. Well, I'll tell you what. How about we exit by, let's set it up. So we actually started our Zoom meeting today talking about, our Zoom session, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Meeting makes me sound like I'm at work, so I kind of bought it. We started this today, kind of, catching up because we haven't talked in a while.
Yeah.
And then fell into this conversation. Shit. Yeah, exactly. Fell into this conversation about Richard Matheson by way of I Am Legend.
Yeah.
So how about we just outro this by setting up the fact that we're now just going to edit in and take them. It's going to be a cold open because we're in the middle of a conversation. I was like, I should hit record on this. And we talk about Richard Matheson, I Am Legend, and some other stuff. And that'll take us out. And then we'll be back in, I don't know, a week or two, and we'll have more stuff. We'll still do, I think next time we'll do Osaka Mime by Behemoth Comics. And and whatever else we read.
Yeah, I think we do. I think I am sitting on a stack of things that I do want to talk about and bring up, but we will wait till next time.
Nice.
So without further ado, here is us bullshitting about I Am Legend.
Yes.
To these vampires, he's the creature that goes bump in the day, so to speak.
Yeah, right.
And he is a legend among them. So by them changing the aspect of the monsters, the title of the film makes no fucking sense. No, it just sounds like some dude bragging, like,
yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm Legend.
Yeah. But that pissed me off, dude. And fucking, there's one thing that I cannot fucking stand, and I hate it, and I don't know why this became a trope in a lot of these kind of CGI monster movies. When the creature yells and its mouth goes,
oh yeah,
and it opens up like this far, and it's like the Mummy, the Brendan Fraser Mummy film.
I never saw that. Does the Mummy do that?
Yeah, like some of the mummies do. This movie does it, and I've seen it in a number of other things.
Yeah, I've
too,
seen
and I'm
it in
like,
a bunch of shit.
It kills me.
Huh.
You know, it takes out just all the kind of like, it's not scary. Them being able to open their mouth wider isn't scary. You know.
I think the only time I've liked it that I've seen it was in Psycho Gorman because he eats. Have you seen that? I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know how it like opens to eat the opponent?
Yeah.
Like so fucked up.
But I mean, but that was self-aware. You know, that was
Yeah,
that was a
exactly.
gore splatterhouse episode of Power Rangers. Is
Yeah,
what that
totally.
shit was. Yeah.
That's
But now
fucking
you know,
hysterical.
when was the last time you read I Am Legend?
It's been a while because I must have lent. I had the. I think I've owned the book. You know, it's in like a book of short stories, right? So I've owned several iterations of that. At least I've owned it at least twice. Once before it had the movie tie-in thing on the front cover, and then again when it did. But I couldn't. I had literally no idea where the fuck either of them went. I mean, I'm sure I lent them to somebody. Because that also has like Dance of the Dead in it, which is a great story that Masters of Horror and Toby Hooper made an absolutely god-awful fucking movie out of. What are the other ones in it? It's got a bunch of good ones in it. I feel like every story in it's great.
Yeah, see, I've only ever had it as a standalone novella.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see? I don't know. I don't remember who put this out. The way I was introduced to that story, there was a prestige format graphic novel adaptation of it in the 80s or 90s, probably early 90s.
I have that.
You okay? First of all, what company is that?
Ooh, let me see. I have it in the box, but I'll go to my trusty little app here.
I feel like as soon as you say
Eclipse.
it, like, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, it came out in 91.
Or...
It was adapted by Steve Niles.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a 4-issue run.
That's good.
You know what's funny? I saw that recently, the 4-issue bundle over at the Bug.
I'll have to look because I noticed they had a bunch of when were you in the Bug last? Huh? When were you at the Bug
last week, maybe?
I go in there Sunday to buy bags and boards. I just ran in real quick. Yeah. And Eddie's working. He's like, hey, you like old, I always talk to him about horror movies. He's like, you like old horror stuff, right? I'm like, yeah. I didn't know they had a bunch of dollar boxes in the what's the other, the game, but whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I've thumbed through them, but I mean, like, none of them are bagged and they're all loose and they're all kind of in bad shape. But what did he turn you on to?
So he's like, he's got a bunch of old Cemetery Dance in there for $1.
Really?
You know, the fiction. And the funny thing is, I'm like, oh, dude, that's pretty cool. Okay, I think I'll grab a couple. He's like, yeah, I figured it's either you or, for old horror stuff, it's either you or Chris Saunders. I laughed my ass off, dude. Well,
he follows us on Instagram. He follows.
Oh, that's cool.
The library. Yeah, but for Matheson stuff though, I have like in the novella. So, you know, I have I Am Legend. I have Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Okay.
Shadow on the Sun and Hell House.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also have a. I mean, I got a couple of like compilation books that has stuff, by him in it.
Oh yeah, like anthology. Yeah.
Now is Richard Christian Matheson? Is that the same Richard Matheson?
Richard Matheson's son.
Okay, so yeah, then I do have a story of him in that Hellbound Hearts book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh. And then I have another one too called He is Legend. And it's a bunch of short stories that are kind of just written like in tribute to him. You know, it says an outstanding cast of top writers pays tribute to his legacy with an all new collection of original stories set in Matheson's own fictional universe.
Oh, no kidding.
Including sequels, prequels, and companion stories to I Am Legend, Hell House, The Incredible Shrinking Man, Somewhere in Time, Duel, and Button. But yeah, the original stories by Stephen King, Joe Hill, Whitley Strieber, and more.
I feel like I remember reading about that, and I think it fell off my radar. I think it was something that was probably like, oh, I got to remember that, and then I didn't. So that's I'll definitely keep my eyes open for that. That's cool. Yeah, it's been a long time since I read any Matheson, and I don't know, it's good stuff. I mean, he wrote like what? How many fucking Twilight Zones in the original series? Like a ton of them, I think.
Yeah.
Um.
Oh, I mean, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet got adapted into.
Yeah, right. Twice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or 3 times if you count The Simpsons.
Oh, but yeah, also I was going to get back to saying, like, asking when the last time you read I Am Legend was, because if you remember, it takes place down here. Like he lives in Gardena.
You're right. Oh my God, I haven't read it since I lived here. Then
yeah.
Wow.
Which is another reason why I did have a dislike for the Will Smith. In New York
where do they
City.
move it?
New York City.
Yeah. I mean, I get that, like, that, like, the cinematic feeling of
it's a bigger scope.
Yeah, the isolation is enhanced. However, see, the thing with that story is, to me, or that movie, it's just not I Am Legend.
No.
I mean,
I've never. The best version was the Vincent Price.
The only thing with that was the second DVD I bought when I bought my DVD player in 2001. Wow. And
because that was the Last Man on Earth.
Last Man on Earth.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. The only thing with it is it's such a faithful adaptation of the fucking story.
Mm-hmm.
That it's almost like watching somebody read a story. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it was almost too much. Like, oh my God. Like I always had trouble getting through it because it was just so, the pacing always felt really off to me or something.
Well, I mean, it feels like an extended Twilight Zone.
Yeah, definitely.
The way that it's shot. And then fucking Omega Man.
I've never seen it. And there was a point in time when I was obsessed with seeing it, because finding I Am Legend probably was short. It was after, but it would have dovetailed with like the height of my the only two well-known, but the two White Zombie albums that I love, the Las Exorcisto and then the one after it, Astro Creep, but Las Exorcisto has I forget the name of the song. It might even be I Am Legend. Mm-hmm. And it's about Omega Man.
Yeah.
So I was always like, oh, I got to see this, and I feel like to this day, I don't know that I've ever seen it. No, that's not true, because it's streaming somewhere right now. I think I just saw the thumbnail for it the other day.
I mean, it's like, as long as you know what you're going into, it's great.
Yeah, I'll probably never watch it. I don't know.
Oh, you should.
Really, you think so?
It's a 70s B movie with Charlton Heston just hamming it up. It's his performance in it is definitely like on par with Planet of the Apes, and
I figured. Okay,
just that real, just over the top,
Green.
Soylent Green. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I mean, at this point, it's like what I realized at some point after the Will Smith version is just the actual story is so hard to adapt, because it's not really in an act structure, right? Like I'd be tempted to say, oh, maybe somebody could make a series out of it, but you'd still have to do something to it. Like, it wouldn't exactly work the way that it is. So it's kind of just great the way it is, I don't know.
Yeah. The only thing I could say is, like, if they ever brought back a TV show like Outer Limits or something,
where
they could have like a like an hour long adaptation of it, where it can be quick to the punch, a little bit shorter. You just tighten it up a little bit, but you can get the full vibe of the story.
Dude, that's actually really weird that was never. Now I'm thinking about it, like, I don't know what the years were, but how was it never adapted into either Twilight Zone or Outer Limits before? Like, that's crazy.
Because I mean, I'm just speculating here, but if I had to guess, I would say that the rights to it, since it was a film made in the 50s, the studio might have still had the rights.
That's what it is.
And then then I'm thinking they remade it in the 70s to maintain the rights.
Yes,
So
definitely. And whoever, if I don't know if it's the same company that made the Will Smith version, but they probably still have the rights because that was, well, I guess that would have been what, 12 or 13 years ago now. So
yeah,
maybe, I mean, it's definitely the era where if we're going to get a good adaptation, it would probably happen soon, but we'll see. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, Omega Man was 1971.
Okay.
So yeah, you know what? That makes perfect sense because it was, let's see, 1954 was when the novel came out.
Okay.
So then yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not going to deep dive on that.
Now I'm thinking about it, that might be my favorite take on vampires. Like I
Oh,
just I love that story
it's a great
so much.
twist on it.
The psychology is just so fucking insane. What it's like
Mhm.
he's got you have like the cross like accidentally burned into him like when he served in the war, like it was like from the dog tag or something. The
Ooh,
way
shit,
that
I don't remember that.
and so they never say that's why he didn't. It's just like for whatever reason, but that was like one point of speculation, whether he was speculating the actual character or if it was just, I don't know. But that story's so fucking great, man.
You know, it was another good story. Do you remember there was an anthology TV show that was it's just called Monsters?
Circa
Oof. That is a great question.
I think this is something that I've seen, like I've seen that it is streaming and went and been like, what is this? Because I think it's from the 80s. I feel like it's from an era where I should have been aware of it, but I wasn't.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, it ran from 88 to 90, so it only did
2 years.
2 years, 72 episodes.
Wow.
It did 3 seasons.
3 seasons. Okay, that makes sense.
And I could very well be looking at this with rose tinted glasses, but there was one episode in particular that I always thought was fantastic. And it was about this guy who he was in like a bunker, like a nuclear doomsday bunker kind of thing. Like I think he was even the government guy. Like he was like working in one of like the missile silos.
Okay.
And stuff went haywire, and basically like the whole world is gone. It's dead, and he starts to hear like knocking on the doors, to like get in kind of thing.
Oh, this sounds very familiar.
The episode. Oh no, yeah, here it is. Season 3, episode 10. It was called The Waiting Game. And it was 4 survivors in a nuclear blowout hide in their shelters, only connected by a walkie-talkie. What ends up happening is they kind of start to go crazy, and they finally like go outside. And what's out there is vampires. And that's the big twist, that now that it's nuclear winter, there is no sun. So now they can all finally
awesome.
They can all finally come out.